coming and thinking about the spaces for learning, I started thinking about, well, what is the wonder of wonder, and how wonderful is wonder? And these are the kind of things that we should be thinking about as we start to look at the environments that we need to create for our children. And of course, wonder is is where wisdom comes from. And so I was recently listening to a lecture by Brad Schoit, who said that when his son comes home from school, instead of asking him, "What'd you learn in school today?" he asks his son, "Did you ask any good questions today?" So, again, Sam. So I'll tell you another good story. A great friend of mine was telling me this story about how his son came home from school and he said, "Dad, I learned all about the brain today, and it was really cool." And so Dad said, "Well, what did you learn? What about the brain?" He goes, "Well, it goes on to say all the details and all of the how big the brain is and how the brain works and all these things." And then he said, "And every time you learn something new, you get a new wrinkle." So Peter says, "Wow, that's cool. I didn't know that." And his son goes, "You got a new wrinkle." So we talk about wonder, and there's certainly a lot of interpretations of wonder. and love her. And this is Wonder Lake in Alaska, beautiful place. But essentially, what I'd like to talk about is how wonder, for me, is the combination of curiosity and inspiration, and how we can find that in lots of different places, but how we need to sort of bring that back into the world of learning environments for children. And one of the things it's really not about is wander, but wonder. So as an architect who designs schools, public schools primarily, we're often thinking about what the right kind of spaces are for children. And again, we want to take it, raise the bar a little bit, because what we're used to going to school in is spaces like this. Actually, this is probably a pretty cool school, but spaces that are a lot worse than this as well. And I want students to think about being excited about going to school, not just thinking about going to school should be an excitement. I want them to go to an alien workshop instead of a school. And so why can't school be more like some of the natural environments? I grew up on the beach, and the beach for me was just the place where wonder happened. And why can't it be a little bit more about... One of the favorite things for me about being at the beach was the imagination, the sand. The sand, you can do anything with sand. And this was a few years ago, but yes, he told me to mention this was him. But also as an architect, you can do a lot of really fun things with sand, and that you can, yes, and you can use your imagination in ways that just aren't possible in other mediums. And so as an architect, again, sand is the greatest thing. But one of the other wonderful things about sand is that, it's impermanent. And you can try, and then the waves come, and then you try again, a few feet back, maybe next time. So the talk today, or the main idea today, is to think about how play and learning combine, and somewhere around kindergarten. We were all taught that you play over here and you learn over here. And they're two very different looking places. And if you look through any of the schools you probably all went to, they look very different. You know that playing is a different place than learning. And so my mission is to try to find ways to bring those two back together. I thought this was a fabulous slide. So I want you to think of a learning experience. Does this go backwards? I want you to think of a learning experience that you had in your youth, and think about, where did it happen? Where were you? Who was there? What did it feel like? Was it sunny? Think about the environment for where you were. And did it look like the slide before, or did it look like this slide? The slide before or this slide? And And so I think we can learn about that sort of thing by saying, where was that powerful experience? And I raise of hands, but I don't know if I've ever heard anyone say that I had this really powerful learning experience in class yesterday or in my classroom yesterday. As a matter of fact, my nephew in North Carolina said, he came home from school one day and he goes, "Mom, I had the best nap in Spanish class today." So the thing about learning environments, and there's a lot of playgrounds that embody this idea, but the thing about it is to also create some gaps so that children can come and fill the gaps in with their imagination. And I love this kind of play structure where you can, as kids, you can play King of the Mountain. It could be a volcano. It could be a rocket ship. It could be the Eiffel Tower. And in 10 minutes, it could be something different. And for another kid, it could be something different. So providing for the opportunity of learning is, and exploration is key to the design of learning environments. Those gaps are really, really, really important. And so we look at a lot of examples, again, of play areas because those seem to have, unfortunately, they have more thought put into the experience. And we want to, again, bring that into schools. This looks to me like a research station in Antarctica. This is a labyrinth in the Chicago area, but you can see that play is not really age-specific. And to have it go across generations is also key. Stimulating gaps. What are those gaps framing? How do you see through them to the next thing? This is just a temporary maze in a fairground in Ohio, but you can see where just changing the placement of the fabrics can change that maze daily and can make a whole different experience as you're going through it. This is imagine that. It's a observatory for migratory birds. And this is a wind tunnel. How fabulous is that? The kid is wearing a cape, and he has a couple of things. So he's actually feeling and experiencing the wind. Now, these things happen in children's museums all the time, but wow, why can't we put those into schools? And kids have a very experiential approach on the world, and they will find ways to alter their world in a number of different ways using props or environments. And how cool is it to look at the world through rose-colored blocks? And this is the sort of more modern version of that. But in a school environment, this is an elementary school in Illinois, where we could take some of those cues and say, well, what if we put colored glass at kid height level in the hallways of this school? So as you're walking by, as a kid can walk by, they can see the world through that lens. And then when the sun comes in through that hallway light, you see that light dappling the floor and changes as the sun goes across the sky. Kids are walking through the space, loving the experience, bringing the nature in, and really experiencing it. Now, nature has a very important role to play, of course, in the school design. This is a boat school in Bangladesh. The floods there all the time. They had trouble getting kids to school. Here's how we're going to solve it. We're going to put school on a boat. That's really cool. So this is a school in southern Australia where it says, the nature is out there, okay, but we're going to bring it in. And we're going to bring it in very forcefully, but very elegantly. And this is an example of a school. This is a site for a school in Albuquerque, New Mexico, the basis of the Sandia Peak. The school was right sort of as the base of the mountain, a beautiful, beautiful site. And so we looked at it in terms of expressing the understanding of a site. The site sloped about 40 feet from the top corner to the bottom corner. And so we added a datum wall that allowed for the kids to actually see the horizon line and see the ground sloping away from the wall, so they could understand that we are at the base of a mountain. One of the other cool things, and there's a lot of fun, we had a lot of fun thinking about the experience of this design, but one of the things we did was we included the metal roof on the classrooms, and the reason for that was really quite simple, because when it rains, it would become thunderously loud in those classrooms. Well, it's Albuquerque, so it's only going to rain once or twice a year, and you wouldn't want to miss it, right? So it's okay. You just stop working and you just experience the environment. Again, inspiring things. What is possible in the day of the life of a PE class? A kid here. This is a roof deck outside of a library. One of the middle school children came up and said, "Wow, I didn't know you could read outside." That's cool. The Inventors Hall of Fame, again, exquisite gaps. Places that it's okay to fail, places that you can really have fun. Tinkering spaces are key. School in, this is the Green School in Bali, where they learn from nature, but they come back and they reflect on it when they get back to their school environment. So now again, a raise of hands. Anybody go to a school that looked like any of these spaces? Dang, I want more hands. Again, that's the point of bringing learning into the learning environments and play environments into the same kind of space. Because we all know children need to be educated, but they also have to be left to educate themselves. So I think it's our charge, it's my mission to sort of defend that curiosity and the sense of wonder in children, because there's nothing in the world that's unworthy of that. So we need to pave the way for them to ask why, to get more wrinkles. Not okay. Environments, the environments that blend play and learning and the natural and built are key, because then we truly express the wonderful wonder of wonder. Thank you very much.